Hey, welcome back to another great episode of MANN Cinema Reviews. It is your lovely host, as always, Peter Mann. What's up, y'all? New to the channel? That's okay. Go ahead, press like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well to notify you of any and all reviews to this channel. And if inclined to do so, please leave a comment after viewing this latest review. Give me your thoughts down below. Well wishes, or just say hello. Thank you very much for choosing MANN Cinema Reviews. Today we're going to get into the plot and greater themes of the latest from director Alex Garland in his latest elevated folk horror film, MANN, starring Jessie, Buckley, and Rory Kinnear. The film centers on Harper, who has recently lost her husband to suicide, and she's fleeing to the English countryside at a quaint English estate hosted by Jeffrey. He is the owner of the estate. He shows her around the estate, lets her know about the quaint village with the church and lovely pub, but gives her some weird but frank advice on how she should be handling her visit here. And that's just the beginning of a long, twisted nightmare that Harper is about to endure. Now, with that being said, I don't want to give too much away, but this is definitely from the diabolical mind of Alex Garland. If you remember him, he is the screenwriter that is best known for penning Danny Boyle's The Beach. He also did 28 Days Later. He also wrote Sunshine, and he goes on to kind of pave his way into the science fiction and horror films as well. He started off with his directorial debut in Ex Machina, and he goes on to Annihilation, and now we have MANN. Now, the first two films dealt heavily with science fiction. There are different horror elements in Annihilation, yet this is just a deep dive in the sadistic and creepy men. This film deals with a lot of themes that I don't want to get too much into, but I will just for the sake of this review. If you have seen it, if you have not, go ahead. If you don't want to be spoiled, I will be spoiling just a little bit of key elements. Now, Harper, again, has recently lost her husband, James, played by Paapa Essiedu. We see him in flashbacks. He is begging his wife not to leave him, and if he does, he will kill himself, and blaming her if he does. So again, this film is centered on Harper, but it is mostly made up of men. And Rory Kinnear is a creepy house guest, Jeffrey, but he also plays the different men in the surrounding area. She's very isolated, but there's like a quaint town with a church with a vicar, also just giving a blatant resemblance of Jeffrey, as well as a little kid that calls her the B word, also has the face of Jeffrey. They're all played by the same actor, Rory Kinnear. And so it's really weird how we don't see that Jessie Buckley sees this, just this resemblance of all these male characters resembling Jeffrey, the actor Rory Kinnear. However, this film just deals with serialism. It also deals with biblical themes as well. I think a lot of this film is going to be very polarizing to audiences. It's not faring well for audiences. It is getting favorable reviews amongst critics, but not so well to the mainstream audience. But I can tell right off the bat what this film reminds me of, and it reminds me of Darren Aronofsky's Mother, which I thought favorably, but I did have my reservations about that film, also dealing with biblical themes as well. So in this film, it's more of the Adam and Eve story. When she goes to the estate, Harper picks from a tree in which Jeffrey says that is forbidden fruit. There you go, we already have Adam and Eve reference there. But this film deals with Mother Nature. It deals with a lot of themes of being critical of just misogyny, men just really exerting their dominance or their proposed dominance over women. It's very critical of toxic masculinity, consent. There's various metaphors in this film that is weaved beautifully within this very isolated horror film. But the film, again, it's dealing with a lot of themes. And this is what I like. I like thought-provoking horror films, and especially with Darren Aronofsky's Mother, that was so divided amongst a lot of the audience did not care for that film. But it does remind me of that film with its biblical references. This film also reminds me of one of my favorite films of last year, and that is The Green Knight. And that's more for the latter half of the film. Once you get to the third act, it is definitely just jaw-dropping. It is just very viscerally, just disturbing as well. You are warned that it does get into graphic nudity, and I am surprised that it did not receive an NC-17 because it's male nudity. It's crazy, but I like what the film is doing. I was awestruck. I was despondent of this film. I was perplexed. I was just really shaking my head and scratching my head when I came out of the theater. Didn't know what to make of it, but going into deep dives and looking at the greater themes, I also did my research on the film, as well as watching a lot of video essays by my content creators out here on YouTube. And I did have a deep appreciation of what the film is doing. I like the direction of Alex Garland. The musical score is very haunting. The cinematography is just crisp, and it's just very ethereal, as well as the music. It just feels very dreamlike and fantastical, but it does create that isolation. And that's what I like about a great horror film, is the isolation of being alone. But it's very daunting events that surround the main character. So that's what I like. I like what Alex Garland is doing. Again, his other two films dealt with more of the science fiction, so I definitely like that he's stepping out of that. And again, this film is much more of a horror film, and I like what he's doing. He sets up tension really well with each and every shot. I felt very, very scared for Harper's character up until the very final act, and then by the end of it, there's kind of a great resolution, but it feels very much despair and hopelessness, even though the main character Harper, the last frame, she is smiling. So again, I really like the tension, and I really like the themes that are woven into this film. I really didn't know what quite to make this film, and I think upon multiple viewings, I'm going to find a deep appreciation of this film, and it's going to be probably one of my favorite films of this year. Outside of The Batman, which I gave 5 stars, I've given a lot of 4 stars, but this film I'm giving MANN a 4.5, nearly 5. And what I have my reservations on is very much the third act that left me perplexed. I really did have to go do my research, and I advise you to do the same thing as well, because this film is just, again, dealing with toxic masculinity. It's dealing with men just asserting themselves physically, emotionally on women, and again, it's very critical of that. So that's what I like. I like what Alex Garland is setting up in this film, but the way he does it by the end is just very, again, jaw-dropping. Something out of a David Cronenberg film, and we have a Cronenberg film, Crimes of the Future, coming, which I very much anticipating of. So a lot of body horror towards the end of the film, and I really think that it's one of the creepiest and disturbing things that I've seen all year. It's very interesting, and again, on multiple viewings, I think I'm going to get it, and I'm just going to get the deeper meanings. I'm going to get something different each time that I watch this film. So it's gonna appreciate over time. It's gonna be like a fine wine. And I feel myself, at first I didn't think this had much replay value, but I'm just now much more interested in even returning to the theaters and rewatching it for a second viewing. Definitely gonna catch it once it hits physical media. And it's just one film that I think I'm going to I already own Ex Machina Annihilation. I am definitely a fan of Alex Garland. I will say that it's probably not my favorite film. Ex Machina is really just his tour de force. But I think I did really like this film a tad bit better than Annihilation. But with that, what did you think of Men? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think? Go ahead, leave your comments and press like if you like, and we'll see you on the next one.